show. My name is Nessie, and this is gonna be a masculine and bony sans the mask because I did my makeup and I really like it today. I used the TARGARYEN palette among other things, and this is the new Urban Decay Naked foundation. I like this so much that I actually bought a bottle of it. So it's gonna be a little different today. I know y'all will probably wait. I don't know if y'all waiting because apparently I'm the only one that really enjoys doing these videos, but here you go if you're watching. Thanks for watching if you are. I guess hello and welcome to people that are subscribed and newbies. Thanks for joining me because maybe you clicked on this title. But I'm going to be talking about the Game of Thrones prequels. It just ended. They got a lot of Emmys, which they didn't get as many as I think they thought. When I say they, I mean like the show's creator, Dan, Dave, and co. Didn't get as many as they thought that they would. I think they actually thought that they were going to win for Best Director and Best Writing, despite how poorly written the last season was. Although people were kind of harping on about this. It's gonna be my mini rant. I'm gonna try to keep this to a minimum because this particular video is about the prequels. It's going to be 5 that I'm going to be talking about in all. 2 of them that are actually supposed to be happening. One has shot a pilot, and the other one is in the works for real because the George R.R. Martin said something about it. In a broken variety, if you want to take that as your source for things happening. So yeah. So people were kind of mad, like, oh,
they actually thought that they were going to win for writing for the last season.
But honestly, why wouldn't they think that? Because you have given them Emmys before for writing that I felt was poor. Because I will say it, and I will keep on saying it anytime it ever comes up. The 8th season was not, the show didn't just start getting bad by the 8th season. So, you know, kind of what was going on, it was par for the course. It had been sloppy. The season, and if y'all got no indication about how this season was going to be, did you ignore the season before? How that was sloppy. How they would, they had just gotten super sloppy towards the end. That was maybe the sloppiest of it, but to me, when they ran out of book canon, that's when it all went down. And they clearly, you were giving them money to go move on to something else, even though I heard that based on so this is all alleged, so that based on the reception and the writing of the last season of Game of Thrones, I'm not sure how much they are going to be actually involved in the new Star Wars, is what they were trying to go on to. But the people are like, well, this messed up his legacy. It's like, yeah, but it's kind of, when they ran out of book, the story went downhill and didn't make any sense. They were just going like they were checking off boxes. I will not put that all on George R.R. Martin because they are professional writers. This is not their first time writing something. This might be their first time this might have been their first time as a showrunner, but the fact of the matter is that you had to complete it even if you're leaving. So I've always said, I had no issue with actually the outcomes of it. It's just how did we get here? Just like it just seemed like I am a book reader, as you guys know, so you know, and I could see Bran being the king because Bran is clearly the main character if you read the books. He is the one that we stick the most with. Well, yeah, between him and the other Stark children, that we stick with him a lot and we see his mystical journey. So it would make sense that he becomes like a Fisher King, you know, who he was in no position to become a king, even though he eventually becomes a prince based on the North establishing their independence. So he's literally the prince. The Starks have blood to kings, which will come back up later in my talking points for this. And you know, he's going through the change of Three-Eyed Raven, or that he, you know, would have been interesting, because I don't know how it's established on it was still unclear on the show. Well, no, not really. They killed him off on the show, but I'm not sure that the Three-Eyed Raven necessarily like dies, but he just kind of changes form. So it seems like there's something sinister, which again we'll come back to this person, sinister about 3-Hour Raven. It's like he's searching for his replacement with Bran. So he's not, something about him is kind of, besides the way he looks, he is unnerving and not he's not being as forthcoming as you think he would be. I'm not sure that he's necessarily on Bran's side. He just wants somebody else to take his place because perhaps he is done, but he's tired of that information. So I'm not clear. I'm waiting for that to happen in the book. So, and supposedly we're supposed to get this book next year. So that's that on that. They gave an award to Peter Dinklage, which I would say I thought was generous. Y'all getting pissy at the Emmys and stalking like what's her name? Her first name is Jodie. The girl that plays the main character on Killing Eve, besides Sandra, the white girl, the killer. Y'all thought that Emilia Clarke was going to beat her.
It's not realistic. It's just not realistic.
I was like, do y'all not watch Killing Eve? Like, Killing Eve, like, she is that girl. First of all, that girl is like a Russian, like, assassin. But she has like different personas, she has different accents, she has to tackle it. Like, she's a nut job, but she's a sympathetic nut job. Like, she's crazy. And she likes doing what she does. So that's what even makes her like Tiggy Tiggy Boom. I think y'all saw, because you see Emilia Clarke give these same monotone speeches, like just up here talking the talk, saying stuff that don't make no sense.
I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that, you know, Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Why would I continue, you know, walking on water for tips?
Emmy, she had been nominated numerous of times, and I was like, I didn't think that she shouldn't have been even in that category. I thought she should have been a supporting like the rest of the cast. I was surprised that no other actor from Game of Thrones had won for anything else, but y'all know y'all still pushing on up. But yeah, that's another mistake. Like, it's an ensemble thing, so everybody's a supporting character. There's not necessarily a lead, because there are several lead stories going in, because I've always thought that Lena Headey needed, you need to give her things as Cersei. Maybe not for this last season, but just overall, she never got her, she never got her just due. And I didn't think that Peter Dinklage they didn't really give him much to do. It's not that he's even a bad actor, but just he didn't have that much to do. But I talked about that for way too long, but let's go into these prequels, and I am prepared. I even have notes. So I won't do it. I'm gonna try to put it within the 30 minutes that we have talked about. I've already wasted 15 talking to you guys about this. So all of the prequels, this is the first note to get into it. These are 5 prequels. 2 that are allegedly up and coming, although one has actually shot a pilot. The other one is, I'm saying allegedly, but apparently it's in the works. So that's 2 that we know for sure that are in the works, and 3 that I would like to see. So with all these prequels, the first thing you need to know is that Dan and David Benioff and Dan Weiss are not in the writer's room on any of these, so that should be a cause for celebration. For all of us Game of Thrones enthusiasts, book and otherwise, none of them have gone to pilot, like I said, and only one has been shot. The first one that has been shot, I'll just start with that, and then I'll start with the one that's actually been shot, and then the one that's in the works. Okay, so the first one is allegedly called Blood Moon, which is the working title, and that is supposed to be about the long nights and the beginning of House Stark, although in canon House Stark is older than the Long Night, so I don't know how that's shaping up. But again, all this is alleged. We're going off of vague descriptions, and we're going off of photos that we've seen. We know that it's supposed to be the origins of the Whites, the Night King, and whatever went down between the Night King and the Children of the Forest. Maybe we're supposed to find out who the Night King is, why he was created, and we're also supposed to supposedly get the origins of some other houses of the South, but mainly this is supposed to take place in the North. So that's why I started out with them, with the Starks. And the Starks are over 8,000 years old as a house. Again, if we're gonna go back to Game of Thrones and they want to take out the magical element of all the people you see, like House Stark been kicking and resisting and living and thriving for 8,000 years, like proper. Like, this is the first time, like, not the first time that they've had any kind of crisis, obviously, but the first time in like 8,000 years where people were like, well, House Stark is gone, which even that wasn't the case, as we knew from watching and reading the current story that we're in, of A Song of Ice and Fire. I'll just say that. But this is all the same universe. So there's that. And supposedly it's supposed to have Naomi Watts, Jamie Campbell Byers. I know he played, what is it? He played King Arthur when they did the Camelot show. The guy that played Francis, or the Dauphin from Reign, his first name is Rego? Is that Rego or something like that? I'll insert pictures so you'll know who I'm talking about. But if you watched any kind of historical fiction, you've seen some of these faces before, so it's nobody that's like new. So they do have people. But as far as the houses from the South, allegedly Naomi Watts is supposed to be a Lannister. At least that's what people are guessing. Again, we don't have a full synopsis because they have seen her with her regular hair color, which, you know, she's a blonde and there's some extensions. But we also see her in a dark wig. So everybody like, is she like supposedly maybe Lan the Clever? That's how that is the originator of or the founder of House Stark. No, House Lannister, i.e. Lannister, Lan. So Lan apparently, you know, he tricked or in this version it would be she, which would be a good little twist, because actually, like, even the current line of Stark that we know, they are actually the genesis is actually from the maternal side of House Stark. That's how they are now, but we don't get, you wouldn't know that unless you read like the World Book, because even though, you know, all of the houses besides like Dorne that practice primogeniture, they only practice that in Dorne, so all of the heads of houses are men. So maybe if the ending is anything like it is in the book, like it is on the show, that, you know, maybe it'll go back to, again, like it would be Sansa and her children that are running House Stark in the North, or we would actually get the establishment of different branches of House Stark like they have had in the past, because like the Karstarks are a branch of House Stark. Carlin Stark, he was a son, one of the many sons of one of the Lord Starks. So he went off and established another branch. So that's how you get different branches. Also, you see that with like the Lannisters is another good example of that, because it's like, unlike the show, there are buku Lannisters. There are Lannisters of Castle Rock. That's Tywin and his crew, his brothers and sisters, their kids. That's the Tywin. Those are the Lannisters of Castle Rock. Then you got the Lannisters of Lannisport. You also see this with the Flints. That's another northern house. It's like 4 or 5 branches of that, and one of them, the Mountain Clans, it's like that's their cousins. So that's the Stark's cousins. So that's what we see. So it would just be interesting that if Lan the Clever was actually going in with that trickster and jesting kind of thing, and also it'd be a cool twist on the story is that if Lan the Clever was actually a woman. So that's that. I'm mildly excited. It could be very interesting. I do want to see, I'm not sure about this point of where this is taken. So that's the only thing that's giving me kind of, and because it's just like I said, if we're going off ages, I don't know how they're breaking it down in the show. It's just the establishment of, like, well, House Stark is older than House Lannister. It's older than a lot of houses. So are we taking it from House Stark inception and how they dealt with the Long Night and the Whites and all that stuff and all their mystical stuff? Because again, like Bran the Builder built the wall, who is the creator of House Stark. He's the first Brandon started Buku Brandon. So did he do we see him building up the wall and all those defenses against the supposedly defenses against the Night King and the White Walkers and all that other stuff and all these just mystical stuff coming from the north? Just like that's where the direwolves supposedly come from. There are no direwolves as far south as Winterfell. So, but they like, it's like those wolves came and found the kids. So there's that. So are we taking it from that point? Like maybe this stuff already existed. Are we gonna get the legend of the supposed Night King and it's actually, and he's a Stark. So, but his brother has to like take him down. So is that gonna tie into like how the current Starks are, or the Starks have been kind of people like they want to be cursed, but I've heard a couple theories about how they're supposedly cursed because they got it on both sides. So is he cursed for like kin slaying, even though he would have had to do that because the Night King was supposed, the Night King and the Night King is not the same person, so that's confusing. But one of them was, you know, sacrificing babies a la like Christ's house. So like there's a different ways that they can go. So I would be interested to see that. So I'm mildly excited about that because that is something that we did not get a full blown out of what was actually going on in the north. That the north really became like a side story. They made everything about King's Landing because they did not. That's another one of my issues with Dan and Dave. Like, you're making a fantasy story, but you seem to resent that it's a fantasy story. Like, sometimes the answer to everything is like, this is magic. So that's that. So yeah, I'm more excited about that than this next one that's coming up. Too, it's the Fire and Blood. This is the other one that's in the works. It's Fire and Blood. The Targs prequel. It's supposed to be based on that series of, well, it's not a series of books. Well, it's going to be, or at least 2 volumes of books about the Targ history. It's supposedly to start with Aegon and his sisters uniting / conquering, however you want to look at it, the 7 kingdoms. Well, really the 6, but maybe we'll get that breakdown with Dorne. We'll actually get a good side of Dorne and how Dorne was actually ruled by an old woman at the time, and she's the one that kind of was like, let me holler at you, player, see what you're not gonna do. It's that. So it's supposed to start at that point, which I think is a good point to start, instead of the entire origins of House Targaryen, because we aren't really familiar, because they had been on Dragonstone, which is their ancestral home in Westeros, for a couple of 100 years before Aegon decided to go out. There will be multiple dragons, so we are talking about budget wise. The reason why I don't know how far this is gonna go is because you know they had all that issue with the dragons and the giants or whatever. Supposedly they couldn't get their budget for Game of Thrones. If we remember the first season, when we first saw like the direwolves, those were actual dog puppy wolf things. So some kind of hybrid, like a wolf dog. Because yeah, some of them ended up adopting the dogs, and some of the dogs are still alive and they live with people, or you could adopt them at one point in time. So so it's cheaper to use real animals, but dragons are gonna be CGI. There are multiple dragons on Dragonstone. And then Aegon and his sisters Rhaenys and Visenya have their own dragon, and Aegon has like this monster dragon, Balerion. So, and he's basically attacking people. That's how they get people to submission. So that's going to be a CGI nightmare. So it has no working title. It has not been shot. It's not clear in how long into history they're going to go into it. Maybe it'll be up into the Dance of the Dragons, but to me, the Dance of the Dragons was the civil war between the Targaryens, which is about I said 100 in my notes, but it's more than 100. It's like 150 to 200 years prior to our current story that they have been. There's always been, the only reason, even though, you know, if it kind of plays out like if the books play out like the show, but even in the books, they're gonna have, it's gonna be an issue between the Targaryens, which has been ongoing. That's why no one was all that excited to see them come back, except a couple people. But they have, ever since, you know, after like Aegon died, you know, he united them with the Iron Throne, but it all went to the pits. But mostly because of a lot of infighting. So when we see that, I think the Dance of the Dragons needs to actually be something separate. That would be interesting. Ooh, even if they did like a short little mini series with the greens and the blacks. That's the two. And those were both based with women were the head of those two. So, and the reason why they got the factions of the Targaryens got their names was based on like the dresses that the queen/princess wore. So, yeah, I'm mildly excited. The only reason I'm not as excited is really because of some of you Targ fans. I'm like, I feel like if you don't read, you have only watched the show and you somehow think that, and it was never really stressing the show, like, and even when it was, y'all like didn't believe them, like, dragons are like cool in theory, but like that's a flying nuclear bomb basically, and you're terrorizing people. That is basically what Aegon said. So I also do wonder how they are going to angle this. What is going to be the angle of this, and how they do it, because it is like will we be getting it from like, you know, the history style, because, you know, like the victors write the history, or will we get like an unbiased about what actually goes on? Because even though in the other books, even like George is a pacifist, and so his view of things is that we shouldn't be having any wars. We should definitely not be terrorizing citizens to do this. So what is the I'm actually gonna split this up into 2 videos. So this is gonna be the 2 that are coming up, and the 3 I actually want to see, because this is long, and I've been talking about this a while now. So I'm about to stop in a second. So, yeah. So what will be the angle? But anyway, what will be the angle of that? Will it be that we actually get an unbiased side that's telling us actually what happened? Because which, like, if we read The World, the Ice and Fire, the person that wrote it was clearly pro Baratheon. And The World of Ice and Fire is basically, it's like a history book. People like they didn't like it. I was like, but it's basically giving you a general breakdown. But you get from reading it that this is not the exact history per se, because one is being written by a maester, and the maesters have something against magic. Even though I think they believe in magic and they know what's up, they are strictly like anti-magic, anti any kind of anything besides the light of the 7. That's what they're based in, which is an issue, because you have several other religions working and are more mystical kind of based than the 7, you know. So I wonder how, and when you read that, he's clearly a Robert stan, so in turn he is supportive of Joffrey. Not really Joffrey, because Joffrey would be dead by the time of this. So Tommen is the king, actually, in time of this book, and Tommen is still being viewed as a Baratheon. So that's the frame in which he's writing it. Because like even when he writes about the Lannisters, he's not like disparaging them, but he's not as pro as you think he would be, given that Cersei is the regent at this time. So that's points that I wonder about that. So it just depends on what they do with it. So I'm gonna stop it right here, and we're actually gonna start on part 2. Will be the next video. I'm just gonna break this up because it's getting to be too long and I don't want it to be super long. We're already about 25 minutes. So part 2 will be about the 3 that I actually want to see. And you guys, thank you for watching. You guys, and I want to know which ones that you want that are you guys excited about these 2 prequels that are supposedly coming up? Do you see about how do you feel? Are you very pro-Targ? I think people that are and thinking that this is going to somehow be redemption for what happened, that the sudden change, and that Daenerys is going to be, they're going to be disappointed. I think, because even from the beginning, we're looking at a downslope of this family. Because yes, they've been in power, but it's never been a smooth ride, given how they got their base, how they've treated people, how overall there has only maybe been 2, and that's a stretch, 2 good Targaryen kings. So there's that. All right, I'm gonna stop right here, and thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.